All right, hey you guys, it's TsubakiSwagg, and I'm coming to you with my review of Nanatsu no Taizai episode 17, The First Sacrifice. And this episode was definitely a sacrifice. And I've heard that they skipped a lot of stuff that happened in the manga, but this episode was still pretty freaking dope. Because of course we see like Meliodas Bond and Gauther, they are trying to penetrate the kingdom, and the knights that are coming after them, they're like, well, we can't use magic because Meliodas can use his full counter, and they were still fucking them up without using magic. Like, Meliodas Bond and Gauther are all freaking badasses, and Gauther, he is awesome. I don't know where his holy, like his sacred weapon is, but I want to say it's a part of him because he was able to use his weapon. He was able to use a move that made all of the knights' memories alter, which made them think that Meliodas Bond and him were all like brothers or like cousins, like loved ones. And it was so funny that I had to stop. I was laughing so hard. It was hilarious. So they had to hurry up and like sneak past them before they realized it, because once the discrepancies in their memories were recognized, they would snap out of it. So they had to get away before they realized what was really going on. And they were able to sneak into the kingdom because Gauther was like, we're not going to get anywhere if we continue to fight people. So they were sneaking past knights and all that good stuff. And while this is happening, King, he has a dog, a dark hound that is able to teleport pretty much. Well, not necessarily teleport, but he can open portals that teleports people. And Deanne went in first and her butt got stuck, literally. So she was inside of the kingdom, and of course all the holy knights came up out of nowhere. There was Jericho, Gyula, Hauser, Gil Thunder, and Hellbrim all popped up at the same time. It's just like, of course they were. So while all of this was happening, they started trying to attack Deanne. Well, of course Jericho tried first and she failed epically. And then Hauser, he just could not bring himself to attack her, not at first. And you see, like, Gil Thunder, he was fucking Deanne up, like, literally effing her up. And it was so bad that it was messing up people around them. And Hauser, like, of course, he had to jump in because he's a holy knight, and they're supposed to be, like, taking out the seven deadly sins because they supposedly overthrowing the kingdom, blah, blah, blah. So, Deanne was getting messed up, and, Dreyfus, of course, came out of nowhere. Well, Dreyfus was there too, and he was also contributing to the fight. And once Deanne got her whole body out of the portal, she was fighting or trying to fight, and Dreyfus was just one upping her one after another. He like pierced her in the chest, and then he pierced her in the leg, and literally threw her into the kingdom. And they were trying to make it out to be that Deanne was the one that was destroying the kingdom, and they were telling people that she was the reason why the kingdom was being destroyed and that she's a sin, so they have to come up in arms and defeat her, blah blah blah. They were really doing some fuckery. That part just made me so angry. And then Helbrim, he just made me mad. Like, just after he said that the seven deadly sins are the villains, and you have to have villains to make the heroes look like heroes, so they're making it out for the seven deadly sins to be the bad ones when they're not. So he literally just confessed that the seven deadly sins never did anything. They're pretty much just scapegoats for the holy knights trying to get control of the kingdom the way they want to control it, which really pissed me off because I'm like, they never did anything. If anything, they were holy knights just like they were. They just became scapegoats for them. So I was like, yes, Gyula and Hauser I think they're going to like join in the fight with seven deadly sins because Deanne saved Zeal. She doesn't even know who Zeal is, but she saw like Zeal was running towards Gyula, and he saw that Deanne was like standing there in front of the building, and the building started to fall on him because Helbrim was being an asshole and was trying to blow up the kingdom, and Deanne saved him. Like, she like crouched over him so he wouldn't get crushed by the building. And that was when Gyula and Hauser stepped in. I was like, yes! And then also, on top of that, we got to see a little bit of what Hendrickson can do. Like, he only showed like maybe one or two moves, but Hendrickson is actually pretty, he looks like he's pretty OP, and he looks like he wasn't even really trying. But Arthur is freaking amazing. Like, he was able to counter that shit, and he put a hit on Hendrickson too. He sliced his forehead a little bit. I was like, oh snap, wait a minute, I wasn't prepared for that one. Arthur is freaking awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight with Arthur and Hendrickson. And then, of course, the wizard fighting Hendrickson's two lackeys. So yeah, and I already know who the wizard is if you don't already know. If you remember from like the long told stories of Arthur, if you remember who his master was, then you'll know who it is in that cape, because that was how I figured it out. But I was like, yes, I'm just that smart. So yeah, this episode was epicness. Deanne is freaking awesome. I love her. She is just, that just made her even more amazing, that she saved Zeal and she didn't even know who Zeal was. And then of course Gyula and Hauser joining forces. So I always knew, like, I had a feeling ever since like Jericho was introduced back into the story with Gyula, that I always had a feeling that her and Gyula were going to end up fighting each other, because Gyula's resolve is different than Jericho's. Jericho just looks like she just wants power, while Gyula actually has something that she wants to protect. So yeah, so looking forward to next week's episode. This episode was freaking amazing. I loved it. So yeah, so as always, I would love to hear how you guys felt about this episode. How do you feel about the way things turned out? What do you think is going to happen? How do you think things are going to turn out with Helbrim and Jericho fighting Hauser and Gyula? Do you think that Dreyfus is going to jump in? And what do you think is going to happen with the 7 deadly sins? So yeah, so as always, please wait. Oh my gosh, I cannot forget the part when Deanne was stuck in the dog's mouth. She was telling King to push her butt, and King looked like he was about to pass out. His nose started bleeding. He was blushing. It was hilarious. King looked like he didn't know what to do with himself when Deanne told him to push her butt. But yeah, so as always, this is TsubakiSwagg saying adios.